Distinguished conference guests and participants, it's my pleasure here to introduce the next session for today in session 6, which is the sustainability of renewable energy solutions in Africa based on bicontinental AU-EU research and innovation cooperation. And I'm one of the 3 conveners of the session today. My name is Antti Autio, and I'm from the Finnish University Partnership for International Development, aka UNITED, and one of the work package leaders in the program. And next, I will give the floor to our second convener of the session. We have also another convener, Margaret Koli, from the WHU Otto Beisheim School of Management. Margaret, if she's, I could confirm whether she's online. Sure. So she'll be joining likely to us to the Q&A session all the way from Kingston, Jamaica. And maybe Riccardo, you might want to.
Thank you, Antti. Thank you. I'm Riccardo Mereu from Politecnico di Milano. Thank you for joining us. And as Antti was mentioning, let's start the session. You can see from the title of the presentation, we are going to present the LIPARI program. And I would like to introduce the first intervention from Léonard Lévêque, that is the project manager with long experience in European projects, that is leading with the LGI, that is the coordinator with DSI from South Africa, co-coordinator of LIPARI, that is going to present the overall project, and then we see more details about the pillars that are composing this project from research point of view and capacity building, etc. Please.
Thank you, Riccardo and Antti. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Léonard Lévêque, even if you part of the audience know me because you are project partners. I am French, working for an SME headquartered in Paris called LGI. We are specialized in environment and climate, low carbon energy, and smart and sustainable territories. So we used to implement and coordinate projects in this field. And currently we are coordinating the long-term Euro-African Partnership on Renewable Energy, which is the explanation of the LIPARI acronym. So this is a flagship project funded by the European Union, funded by the DG RTD in charge of research and innovation, and managed by an executive agency called CINEA. So to give you some elements of background, actually LIPARI comes from a mutual agreement of both the African Union and the European Union. The African Union through the Agenda 2063, in which renewable energy is one of the priority area. And from the European part, the Green Deal, which has been launched by the European Union in the recent years. So actually the Africa-EU partnership enshrines energy as one of the key areas for cooperation, and LIPARI is one of the key actions to deliver activities in that field. So it comes from a mutual commitment to act in renewable energy by adopting a roadmap on research and innovation between African Union and European Union in the field not only of renewable, but also of climate change and sustainable energy. This is the CCSE partnership, CCSE process, in which LIPARI is implemented. So the aim of LIPARI is to reduce fragmentation by aligning the existing frameworks, both bilateral or multilateral, existing both in Europe and Africa. So to reach this ambitious objective, we gathered a wide-scale consortium of 85 organizations. So it's not usual for a EU-funded project. Usually they are quite smaller. So this is a very big initiative. You have here in the room plenty of partners that you can also meet after the conference. And actually, we have 5 main high-level objectives. The first is to demonstrate the efficiency of this program for creating the conditions of a long-term partnership. So we strongly have to bear in mind that this is not a single project. It is a long process that is starting now and that we will need to sustain, ideally for years or decades, to organize the collaboration between Europe and Africa on science, technology, and innovation. The second objective of LIPRI is to demonstrate efficiency and attractiveness of joint programming and joint calls. So you will listen to my colleagues afterwards who will explain that we have an internal capacity to launch and manage call for projects. So we have been in the last years in capacity to fund 23 projects that are currently ongoing. On the other hand, one of our objectives is also to mobilize relevant knowledge communities both in Europe and Africa when it comes to renewable energy challenges, but also sustainable energy as a whole, and also including climate change topics, and to contribute to the production of new knowledge, innovation, technologies, products, services, or whatever in the field of renewable energy in Europe and Africa. Finally, the LIPRI program aims at accelerating the transition to reliable and affordable renewable energy. So this is, let's say, the overarching ambition of the program. And to do so, I would like maybe to invite Mokhtar to present the co-funding activities that we have been implementing since 2020 within the framework of what we call Pillar 1.
Good afternoon. I'm Mokhtar Sellami from the Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research from Algeria. Let's say that I have a chance to assist to participate to all actions since 2000 in African Union, European Union partnership, mainly the creation of the high-level policy dialogue in 2012, followed by the first program to identify programs of cooperation between Africa and Europe. It was a project, a H2020 project called RINEA. RINEA stands for Research and Innovation Network Europe-Africa. And in this framework, we defined the vision in short term, beginning by a program in FNS, in Food, Nutrition, Security, and Sustainable Agriculture, and the second one in 2018, Climate Change and Sustainable Energy. And from this program, Climate Change and Sustainable Energy, we had 2 calls, one in climate action and another one in renewable energy. Among them, of course, the well-known program we are introducing today, Long European African Partnership in Renewable Energy, which standing for LIPRI. I was expecting that my friend Léonard will introduce the general framework of LIPRI, but let's say that we have 3 main pillars. First pillar, external call for new partners. Pillar 2, internal call. It will be introduced later by Riccardo, I think, and pillar 3 also will be introduced later. Let's say that in this pillar called the Pillar 1. It's based on open call for proposal of research and innovation projects. It means that at the first step and the second step, we made a general call through agencies, funders of Pillar 1 projects, to make call for projects. These projects are funded by LIPRE consortium members, including ESA top-up, European Union top-up, according to the consortium agreement. We have in mind to involve private sector. We have some private institution in Pillar 1. Also with the objective of capacity building activities, which are included in each research and innovation projects, according to what we call the multi-annual roadmaps. Maybe I will introduce them briefly or maybe later. And of course, integration of research and innovation projects outputs working for a long-term partnership of European Union and African Union. And we have a main work package activities, which is devoted to the long term. And of course, we are also managing all the process of knowledge transfer, communication for long-term partnership, and the development of approach to foster dialogue and create synergies between partners in Europe, partners in Africa, but for us to make the partnership between Africa and Europe. And of course, as usual, for all projects, we have an evaluation process based on some KPIs. Then it's an external call by opposition to what we'll see later, the Pillar 2, which is internal call. Just to give you an idea, then we made 2 calls. Here I will try to give you an overview of the results. First, we had 167 submission of projects for the 2 calls. And of course, we have a set of experts for evaluation in 2 steps. All calls are in 2 steps. And in those calls, we had 56 pre-selected projects. And now we have 23 projects selected. 13 projects were selected in the first call in 2021. And recently, then we had another call and we selected 10 new projects. Regarding the funding of these projects, we can see that different agencies, institutions came with 12.7 million euros for this project. And we had 3.4 million from top-up. We have 87 African partners in the 23 selected project and 71 partners, let's say teams. Now, all these projects are based on some multi-annual roadmaps. Maybe I will leave to Riccardo, but you have the time to go in more detail. I don't know if I have enough time, but let's say that we work during 1 year to define what we call the multi-annual roadmaps, which are subject to the calls. And of course, we can see that we can have some projects which are in which they participate to the different multi-annual roadmaps. Now, as mentioned, we worked with the spirit to be to open research especially to partners and who are not funders of the project. And in the consortium agreement and with the agencies, we decided to put money from the European Commission top-up for African partners which don't have funding resource or funding agencies. So here are the view of the project. We can see in the left then the map. In blue, it's the African and European partners in Pillar 1. You will see another map for Pillar 2. Then we have Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, South Africa, and European countries. What you can see in yellow are teams from countries which projects are funded by the European Union top-up. I can mention, by example, Kenya, Nigeria, Burkina Faso, Mozambique, and so on. And now, regarding the histogram, we can see that, by example, Morocco had 8 projects in the first call and 9 selected projects in the second call. You can see that they are very, very active. By example, in the second call, on 10 selected projects, Morocco is involved in 9 projects. The second one is South Africa. Then comes Algeria. And what you see in green, there are partners and teams involved in the project, but they come with, and they are funded from the European Commission top-up. And for European partners like Switzerland and Spain, they are also in the project, but they come with their own fund. It means that with the European Union top-up, we fund especially African teams. From the European side, the leading countries is Germany with 13 projects. Even France is with 13 projects, and then Romania and Italy. Italy participate only in the second call. They were not involved in the first call. Austria too. Then, as you see, that's the general view of partners and the number of projects by country. Now, in the same time, let's say after the selection of the 10 projects, the last 10 projects, which will they are planned shortly to begin in July. We are thinking also in the same time on how to build a teaming or clustering of and partnership between institutions. That's what we are calling the twinning process between institutions, and between researchers. That's what we are calling the teaming. And all those details will be developed, and they are the main actions of the work package 5, working for European Union long-term perspectives. Now, to have a vision of the different projects, I give the floor to Francois.
Okay. Do you hear me? It's okay. Thank you, Mokhtar. Just let me present myself. I am Francois Moisan, working at the French National Research Agency, which is funding research in France, where I work with Wassim Sebai, present here in the room today. And we are co-coordinating this activity of call launching with Mokhtar Sellami within LIPRI. Okay, so as you understood through the presentation of Mokhtar, the specificity of launching calls in the LIPRI activity is that we mobilize funding agencies, national funding agencies, which bring their own budget to fund projects with a complement of the grant coming from the European Commission. So as Mokhtar said, we selected 23 projects in these 2 calls, in 2021 and 2022. In result, each participating country, funding agencies or ministries have funded at least one project, in general more, as we have seen for some countries, much more. And there is a diversity of thematics. What I just want to give you is an overview of the thematics addressed by the 23 projects that we funded in this activity. And of course, these projects respond to the different multi-annual roadmaps Mokhtar presented. But beyond these multi-annual roadmaps, there is very specific topics such as the Nexus, water, energy, food, for example, but also hydrogen, which is maybe new topic, important topic for many countries. The agrivoltaics projects, where we use photovoltaics in order to increase the agriculture productivity in some countries with a hot climate. Digitalization of smart grids, it's a very coming topics, but also clean cooking and recycling. So I will just give another view of this project. So first topic belong to recycling. Recycling, what we call the transition equipment, energy transition equipment, such as PV, panels, batteries, is already an issue, but it will be in the future a biggest issue. And so we have 3 projects addressing this issue, one coordinated by Morocco. When I say coordinator, there is for each project a coordinator coming from one country, but also other teams coming from other countries, since in order to be eligible, a project should include several participating countries. Research is on the recycling of batteries. Revival is a project on silicium-based devices for supercapacitors. It's coordinated by Belgium for PV panels recycling. And Herclib is a project of recycling of batteries, which will be a big issue, not only for standalone, but also for electrical vehicle. And Romania, a team of Romania, is coordinating this team. So we have several projects on this issue. Another very important issue is the productive use of renewable energies. Since renewable energy is not only for what we call essential need of population, but also to induce productive uses and activities, creating jobs and development. So we have a project at the scale of a farm, agricultural farm, MG farm, coordinated by a French team, and where it is developing solutions for agriculture with a microgrid at the scale of the farm. We have a project in the last call called Smart APV Fruit. It's a project coordinated by Germany, where we have an application of PV for agriculture, as I said, in order to have red fruit grown in Morocco and in more beyond in North Africa. And a project called REPTES, coordinated by Italy on renewable plants integrating pumping, thermal pumping for the storage. Thank you. We have productive use regarding water energy nexus. As I said, for example, OptiMG is for the integration of mini-grids with water energy food. The LETSOL project, which is, sorry, the previous one was coordinated by Germany. LETSOL project is a project in order to have a device for purification of water with a portable device with solar energy. And Seladji, which is not addressing this nexus, but rather the mobility through a solar recharging station for electric cars mobility, and the previous one, sorry, it's coordinated by Romania, and this one by Germany. We are, as I said, several projects on hydrogens and also on new PV cells adapted to Africa. So High Africa is a very original project coordinated by Portugal, which address the native hydrogen, the hydrogen present naturally in soils, in the ground. The D3T4H2S, which is a device, vessels for hydrogen storage, coordinated by France, and two projects on new PV cells, perovskites devices, and for cells adapted to the spectrum of solar energy in Africa. We had some projects, especially on the last call, on the issue of digitalization and artificial intelligence in order to manage the smart grids peak between production and demand, and instability of smart grid in this condition, and through digitalization conducted the first one by Germany and Medina by France, addressing the same issue, and the project OASIS, which is rather on modeling issues and open access data for modeling. I will conclude with the two last thematics. First is the biomass transformation in Africa through biofuels with pyrolysis, biotherapy, which is also addressing biochemical and biothermal conversion, and Vil2Bio, biotherapy coordinated by Morocco and Vil2Bio by France. Pure biofuel is coordinated by Egypt, and Sungari, which is the transformation of gari, which is the cereals which grows in Africa, and the process consume a lot of energy, and coordinated by UK team. And the last thematic is clean cooking, I should say itself, where we explore new method of cooking, not on firewood, regarding the problematic. So SocoNextGen, coordinated by Germany, Solar Induce, which is looking for electricity cooking, which could look very future, but indeed very efficient way to cook, coordinated by Spain, and a new SHE, a small home energy, developing for an integrated and mobile solution for the low-cost cooking, which is coordinated by Austria. So you see that there is a lot of countries involved, a lot of country coordinated. So I will stop there. I don't know if Mokhtar, you want to give the last word, because I think we are out of time.
No, just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. To mention the dimension of evaluation. We all know the different level of evaluation, but we are trying to focus more on outcomes than on outputs. And we are expecting to have to work especially on social impact. Don't have time, just to finish, and as introduced by Francois, many projects are focusing on development of solution and adaptation of technologies into low-cost design for smart grids, small agro industries, water system using photovoltaic, recycling, and so on. And as you see in these pictures, we have the first prototypes. I hope that in our meeting in Kigali, there we'll have more results and more demonstration. And I stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Léonard, Francois Mokhtar. So as I was mentioned, Lipari is divided in 3 pillars, and we saw the first pillar that was characterized by external cause with, you saw a lot of projects that are already giving us some results. And then there is the pillar 2. The pillar 2 is characterized by less projects, I have to say, 8 of them. There are internal projects, research and capacity building projects. And then now I ask Anne, and Sandra, yeah, I don't know who is starting, Anne and Sandra Banda from Strathmore University, that is co-coordinator of the Pillar 2 with Politecnico di Milano, and myself, but doesn't matter. And I will ask Sandra and Anne are going to present a bit the whole, let's say, overview of the Pillar 2 project, and then showing some results from the 8 projects that are characterizing the pillar. So I let you start, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Riccardo. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sandra Banda. I'm from Strathmore University in Kenya. We, Strathmore University, are the co-coordinators of Pillar 2 in the Lipari project. And so basically Pillar 2 are the research and innovation projects that are being run under Lipari. Pillar 2 basically monitors all the 8 innovation projects. So there are 4 research-oriented projects and 4 innovation-oriented projects. It's an internal consortium that monitors the research, innovation, and specific coordination of all the 8 projects. We also capitalize on the expertise of all the partners that are involved. So we have 63 partners in the project. We have 63 institutions, 33 from Africa and 30 from Europe, 30 countries both in Africa and Europe. And so it's a coordination between both continents on the project. And so a total of, as I mentioned before, so we have 4 work packages that are research oriented, and we have 4 other work packages that are innovation oriented. And so apart from now the research and coordination, we capitalize on the Pillar 2 partners' expertise to ensure that there is knowledge transfer, first of all, between both continents, and also implementation is happening smoothly within both projects. And we also do the monitoring and evaluation of these projects to ensure that they're happening according to the grant agreement that we had with the EU. The Pillar 2 projects, just as the Pillar 1 coordinators had mentioned, they are centered around the 8 MESRS topics. Each of these 8 work packages in Pillar 2 touch on one of these multi-annual roadmaps. So we have the first roadmap, which is mapping joint research between all partners and innovation actions. Then we have the end of life, second life management. We have standalone systems where we have 4 work packages that are touching upon this. We have smart grid for off-grid application, process and appliance for productive use, where we have about 5 work packages that the main research objectives touch upon this MESRS. And the last one is on innovation and solutions for priority domestic uses. So the MESRS try to bring along technological development, and ensure that the projects have a strong methodological approach, and also ensure that there is good scenario. They create an energy scenario and uptake for not uptake per se, but more creating an environment that ensures maximizes on socioeconomic impact and policy development as well. Just one minute before I invite, and one thing that I wanted to highlight for the Pillar 2 is actually this slide. Oh, it's not there. Anyway, the Pillar 2 projects mainly are centered around renewable energy topics. And so each of these 8 projects are centered around renewable energy, advancement of renewable energy, innovation, and research across the continent, because we are trying to ensure that there's a just energy transition, given that in Africa we have most of the minerals being taken from the global south, being manufactured in China, global north benefiting. We need to ensure that the continent is also being placed in a position that allows for a just energy transition. And so all these specific 8 projects being led by different partners across both continents allow for that. And so I will introduce Anne to come and mention all the 8 projects and just ensure what give a brief.
Okay, so I'm Anne. Sandra's colleague, and together with POLIMI, we are coordinating. Yeah. Okay. Together with POLIMI, we are coordinating Pillar 2. So, in Pillar 2, there is okay. Okay. So there is work package 9. There's, I think, yeah, work package 9, which is it's a project that seeks to map geothermal resources on the continent. So define the origin and location of low and high enthalpy geothermal resources for development of African electricity production, plus a range of, direct heat or cold use applications. So this is, as you can see here, the progress of the project so far. So data collection is happening, and to see information that allows subsurface characterization of geothermal resources. There's also multiple evaluations of heat cold production. That is what the geothermal systems can be used for. And then a review on socioeconomic context of the geothermal energy in Africa as a whole. And then there is use of guides and interviews, which have been used to collect data from and opinion from experts and communities, and compilation of geoscientific data, and analysis of indicators of first order geothermal potential. So then there's work package 10. So this is an electric cooking project. So the first one is a geothermal mapping project. The second one is an electric cooking project, which is designing a standalone solar system, solar powered electric cooker. So the first design of the standalone cooker has been submitted. Then the progress report on the solar photovoltaic energy technology, solar photovoltaic technologies is being worked on. So part of this project is to look at the implementation of solar photovoltaic systems on the continent, given that there's different challenges that solar photovoltaic systems face on the continent, from different levels of heat, daily heat, given that, region, especially given Kenya is in the Sunbelt region. Then there's a questionnaire on market policy and capacity building that's been developed and is being worked on. And then in Kenya, the project progress has been used to develop, has made a contribution to the national electric cooking strategy, which is being developed right now by the government of Kenya. So then there is work package 11, which is Geothermal Village. So it's meant to, so this is the first one is mapping. This one is geothermal use for in a mini grid setting. So community geothermal use. So build geothermal solutions for energy production in off-grid territories. So the first one, field work for geological and geophysical data acquisition has been done. That is in Djibouti. Kenya is already done. Rwanda is partly done. And the next step in September, I think that's when the completion will be made. Then there is socioeconomic data acquisition. Djibouti and Kenya are already done. Rwanda will be done by September, October. And then the last two tasks are technological solutions for energy production. I'm assuming this is what the communities are going to be using this energy for, is currently in the works. So then there's work package 12. Work package 12 is renewables for African agriculture. So this is, demonstrating technical, economic, and business pathways to sustainable cropland irrigation and community-wide renewable electricity access. So this is to increase agricultural productivity and local crop processing, cold storage, and everything I think you can use electricity for in an agricultural setting. So integrated platform has been developed, model development and integration is happening. An interactive dashboard is also being developed as of now. So business models, research, and techno-economic analysis of agricultural value chains, also currently in the works. Yeah. So then there is work package 13. So there's 8 projects. Apologies, I'm gonna have to go through all of them. So work package 13 is Setadisma. So that's it's a project on modeling of brown and greenfield mini grids. together with the inclusion of digital technologies and fully integrated socioeconomic models. So this means that, conversion of, let me say, diesel-powered mini-grids to solar-powered mini-grids, or, improvement of current performance of mini-grids, let's say solar mini-grids, using digital technologies, or even modeling, providing a model for future. If you want to develop a mini-grid, you can find an open source model that you'll be able to use to characterize your own mini-grid. So data collection in Kenya and Rwanda finalized, and data analysis has been completed. Comprehensive characterization of electricity needs and resource assessment methodologies. That's, I think, in the works right now. Accurate map of digital technologies, components, and systems for mini-grids at technical system and operational levels, dedicated to African needs. I think this is also in the works. Open source energy modeling suite for off-grid microgrids, including economical and social dimension, is also under development, and a CSP pilot. I think there was an addition of a CSP plant into the project in Burkina Faso. So that's also, I think maybe it's for validation. Yeah. So then there's work package 14, which is the energy village, which maps a selected number of villages with various levels of intervention, categorized according to their readiness levels. So the EV is a replicable concept for creating renewable energy self-sufficient regions with a particular focus initially on rural and remote areas or a suburb in a town. So this involves solar photovoltaic systems installation. So selection of demo energy villages, collection of data, literature documents, energy potential calculation, all that has been done. Energy village site visits in Botswana, Uganda, and Kenya, that's also been done by University of Vasa members. Several finding applications for the continuation of the partnerships have also, I think this means that there's extra funding that's available right now. I'm seeing, one of the members of the project. Yeah. So then there's continuous monthly meetings on reporting the progress of the project, continuous communications, and training in energy biogas calculator from Aspire model. Yeah, so progress has been made significant, and I think there's still a bit more work that's being done. So there was a presentation that was made on Future Energy Solutions Conference, and that was work from Energy Village communities. Okay, so there's work package 15, which is Eureka. Yeah, there's work package 15, which is Eureka, which is enabling productive usage of electricity by interconnection of an existing nanogrid with a bottom-up approach by the increased hosting of DER and management of a local flexibility market within existing grids with a top-down approach. So this is interconnection of a grid, small grid to the national grid. And I think development of models going either way, to the grid and, from the grid. So sociology, organization, and capacity building analysis has been finalized. Interconnection modules deployed in Madagascar. There is hardware shipped and tested by Sonabel. Sensors have been deployed. Organization of the first international roundtable was done on 18th March 2023 in cooperation with Young Energy Actors Association, and data collection and analysis in progress according to specifications from a deliverable there. Finally, there's work package 16. Lucky for us, we're at the end, so I can see some people are falling asleep. So yeah, the Leopard project aims to disseminate microgrid technology by designing, testing, evaluating a 2-container solution for solar energy in rural and peri-urban areas in Benin. The project will analyze and the condition for interconnecting the off-grid solutions, optimize the technical and economic benefits of the solutions, and define replicability conditions in Benin and Senegal. So this is this is a plug and play system, I'm assuming. So this is a project which does containerized solution that is off-grid, that, you know, there's no need for like sizing to be done. So the measurement on the measurement has been done on a certain site there, and then the dimension of the first prototype based on memo grade, then completion of installation of the first demonstrator has been done. Then there is quality control protocol completed, second pilot installation in progress, and capacity building in progress. Thank you. Yep.
Great. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Sandra. And you saw, so we have the 8 projects. Part of them are research activities in Pillar 2, of course. Part of them regarding research, other innovation. And then what we decided to do for this event is to focus a bit in an example. You saw that we have 2 of the work packages that were focused on, or are focused on geothermal. So today we would like to give a bit focus on that. There is present Isabella Nardini, that is the Vice Chair of the General Assembly and is the coordinator of the geothermal activities in Lipari, and then Fabio Iannone, please, sorry, and is a researcher from Sant'Anna University in Italy, and is giving us a focus about, I will do that, yeah, the case of geothermal, looking at the local communities in a rural village. Please, Fabio.
Yes, thank you very much, Riccardo, and today, Isabella is with us, so Isabella is in charge of a part of the Geothermal Village. I cannot talk of all the projects, so I will just go and explain you the mission of this project, and then I will go to our activities. So let me start talking about energy communities with, considering that we are in a scientific conference, with a little bit of literature, okay? This is an article published 2 years ago. They review 19 documents, and they are talking about energy communities. So not geothermal energy communities or renewable energy communities, just in general about energy communities. What they are saying in this article basically is that energy communities can offer an opportunity to address energy challenges in sub-Saharan Africa, that some of the projects there are assume a conventional characteristic of an energy community, even if we cannot find, for example, the definition to which we are used in Europe about renewable energy communities. The ownership of the community project is generally by the government. Very few times are communities are participating as shareholders, and generally there is a top-down approach. Then this is something that is affecting our activity. The sophisticated business models that are used in the energy communities in sub-Saharan Africa, sorry, in Europe or generally in developed countries, are not replicable for example, the context of sub-Saharan Africa. Why this premise? Because you will see that in this project we're trying to do the opposite of the results of this article, so trying to go and have a bottom-up approach. This is the main philosophy behind the Geothermal Village. This is a scheme representing the Geothermal Village. So as you can see, apart from the volcano, but the approach is to develop geothermal energy, but also to use the heat. Okay, so just not energy, but also the heat with a cascade approach. So basically starting from the production of energy, electricity, and then reuse of heat or using of it for other activities that we will see later. We are talking about villages. So generally, we are talking about context in which if there is the network is not accessible for the communities because of poverty, basically. Or sometimes, for example, the case of Djibouti, there is no network, okay? Those are the partners of the project. So Sant'Anna is just one of them. Basically, there are two main groups of partners collaborating. Let's say the scientists, okay, geologists, geophysical, geochemistry, engineering, okay, but also our part, it is the social scientists. So both from Europe and from Africa. And in Africa, we are partnering with governmental agencies like ODEG, or with companies owned by the state like ADCL, then University of Addis Ababa, then CEPCO, and then also the University of Nairobi. I will not go through the European partners. Those are the sites that we are studying, we are researching on. So Le Cabe in Djibouti, amazing place. I've been there in February. Afar, we will go there hopefully in November. Then Oma Hills in Kenya, we have been there, both social scientists and geoscientists. And Bugarama. Bugarama, we will go there before and after the summer. Those are the tasks of the project, so you can see them more in detail respect to Anne's presentation. So geoscience aims at developing appropriate methods of efficiently identify and drill into the hot geothermal fluids, etc. Social scientists, I will not go because we will see later. Engineering will identify, select, and adapt ad hoc African technologies. So we want to use the African know-hows and SMEs, especially for the future. And local engineering solution to high temperature shallow drilling and production and handling the geothermal fluids. Then there will be the feasibility task in which we are already putting together the results coming from the geoscientists and the social scientists. Then capacity building that we already started the collection of needs, and Isabella is the responsible for that task. And then the last step will be hopefully the preparation of a good proposal for a possible geothermal village too. So I will just give you in 5 minutes an overview of what we are doing. Yeah, thank you. 5 minutes. So I have the watch in time. So here you can see the partners: Sant'Anna, University of Nairobi, that is co-leading with us the task. UNITO, University of Turin, Geo2D, maybe you know Jacques Varé, ADCL, ODEC, and then in italic the CBO, okay, the community-based organization. One is in Kenya, the first one, and the other one is in Ethiopia. So those are our objectives. So determine the socioeconomic needs, understand the living condition, provide the local community engagement strategy, and partner, of course, with the CBO. Those are the actions in detail. So context analysis, University of Nairobi is leading, then social aspects and dynamics, Geo2D is leading, stakeholder analysis, UNITO is leading, and then 2 actions that I will go through now that we are leading, and then the local organization capacity building needs, that is collaboration with 11.5. So let me go to some pictures so I can, wake you up. Basically, our approach is made by 3 steps: desk research, a systematic literature review, then qualitative analysis, so interviews and focus group in collaboration with Geo2D and UNITO, and then a quantitative analysis that will be launched next year. What are our main findings from the systematic literature review? Because what we discovered is that there are no relevant experiences in geothermal community engagement in Africa. And also in Europe, there are few. But what we discover is that generally there is, when there are renewable plants managed by energy communities, there is a very linked territorial proximity. Then generally a lot of projects are from the solar photovoltaic energy. There is the predominance of economic objectives rather than social ones and environmental ones. Then we have to, and we are trying to do it, avoid business models that are disconnected from the communities. Those are other results, but I don't have time. But just to know that we are also focusing on managerial and financial factors and success and failure factors. So those are the activities that we have done on Insight, apart from the desk research. We have done in Kenya, in the 5 locations affected, 5 focus groups, discussions, and then interviews with all these people, more than 15. Okay, so you can see politicians, community-based organization, business association, NGO, water public company, etc. And then we have to do the also other side. Those are some of the pictures of the focus group. What we have discovered is that these people, expressed basic needs that the geothermal energy has to answer. I just remind you that the philosophy of the project is bottom up, so we have to understand what are the needs and then try to address the needs with the geothermal energy. Clean water, electricity, of course, roads, poverty and lack of employment, education for youths, women opportunities. And those are the use that they have suggested to us, these communities. So domestic use, light, cooking, agriculture, pumping water, fishing, in relation to fishing, they want to use the hot water and the heat to dry and store fish. Okay, so, and then public services, thank you. And so lights in school, lights at home to study, conservation of medicals in dispensaries, and also in large job opportunities. These people are expecting that the geothermal energy will give jobs there in various ways. What is interesting also is that regarding the management, because we would like, let's say like this, include them in the management of the geothermal village. They want to be involved to ensure security and sustainability. When they say sustainability, they mean long-term duration of the project. And those communities are already facing climate change, deforestation, okay, and geothermal village can also answer to these challenges. Last 2 slides, and then I finish. What we have done in Lekabe in February, more or less the same, but the community is different. We are talking about nomadic community, semi-nomadic, the Afar ethnic group that is also present in Ethiopia. Those are some pictures of and I was telling you before that they are totally disconnected from the network, so they don't have access to electricity, while in Oma Hills there is the network. They expressed needs, but basically potable water is the most important one. Also to have electricity to enhance food cooking condition. We talked before about a project about cooking, and also they would like to use the water that is not clean, that is salty from the lake for irrigation. Okay, and we have visited 2 sites there. One was Lekabe and the other one was Esaila. Of course, there are other needs like dispensary, education that can be answered by the electricity. Last slide, those are our future steps as social scientists. We will go in Rwanda, me in Rwanda in October, but the colleagues from UNITO in June. And we will go on with the interviews with the private companies and other actors. And we will go hopefully in Ethiopia. We were waiting for the political situation. It was not good. And we will do also capacity building in Rwanda in October. And hopefully in Kenya, we'll see when, if at the end of the year or the next year. And okay, that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Fabio. I think this was a brilliant summary also related to or linking to the Sustainability Science Days as a conference that aims to bring together and synergize both so to say technical evidence-based solutions with social sciences and social taking into consideration human aspects when we are trying to advance transition towards sustainable energy solutions. And next, I'd like to invite Tanya Voronovich, who is a head of unit for North Africa, Middle East, Turkey at the German Aerospace Center Project Management Agency, and Professor Chakib Seladji from the University of Tlemcen, the director of ETAP laboratory over there. So please, the floor is yours. Yes. And meanwhile, I would like to remind for the online participants that feel free to write questions on the chat, as we will then, or you can also post live questions, just inform to our conference support process that you would like to post a question, and soon we can have a discussion.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Chakib Seladji. I'm a research coordinator at PAUWES, Pan-African Institute for Energy, Water, and Climate Change. So it's my pleasure to give this talk about entitled Building Sustainable Future Collaborative Approach to Renewable Energy Development in Africa. So my presentation will give general context in terms of energy situation in Africa, the current realities, future perspectives, and how LIPRI can contribute to accelerate the energy transition. So you have to know that half of African people don't have access to energy, to electricity. And one from 4 people have access in the rural region. But what is very interesting, that we have, or the continent have more than 10 terawatt and 4 gigawatt in terms of renewable energy potential, which is actually 10 times more than needed for the whole continent. So, and in terms of renewable energy, we are using 10% and almost from hydropower. So in terms of capacity and skills, there is a gap. So we have to elaborate a strategy to solve this problem. We have also a problem with access to technology. So we have limited access, and we have dependence on expensive imported equipment. And we have also some challenges in terms of research and development. So that's why the African Union elaborates a strategy, designed a strategy called Agenda 2063. So what is the deal? To enhance education and research. And you have to know that PAUWES is a deliverable of this strategy elaborated by African Union. Promoting renewable energy, which is our concern, and expanding energy access, and finally increasing energy efficiency. And you have to know that in terms of energy intensity, the African continent consumes more than 6 times more than for example, Japan, for producing 1 unit of GDP, which is very important. So now let's see what happened in terms of investment. So from 2,000 billion US dollar from 20 to 2020, only 2% are invested in Africa. So this is the market share. In terms of investment, more than 80% of the investment goes to solar PV and wind technologies. And you have to know that also 60% of the investment comes from the private sector. Let's see what's going on in solar energy. You can see from this beautiful map that we have the potential, but we are only exploiting 1%. The same thing, let's see, in terms of investment, the market share, we can see that the South Africa is investing half of whole investment in Africa. What about wind energy? So we can see the same thing. We have the potential, but only 1 to 4% are exploited. In terms of market share, 41% goes to South Africa. Geothermal, so we are estimating that 15 gigawatts of potential remains untapped, and Kenya is the most important investor in geothermal with 823 megawatts. And at the end of 2019, a strategy was developed by Uganda, Djibouti, Tanzania, and Eritrea to invest in geothermal. What about waste to energy? So just an example. Algeria produced more than 30 megaton of waste in 2012, and we are expecting more than 20 megaton by 2015. So the production of waste will increase by 50%, which could be very interesting in terms of investment. Why should be interested by green hydrogen in Africa? So in terms of cost, we are expecting if we invest in Africa and the Middle East to produce 1 kilogram less than $1. So it's a good market. It's a very interesting market to develop. So how to accelerate the energy transition? First of all, we have to have a national strategy with objective, target, and energy mix defined. Feeding tariff. Feeding tariff, so we are feeding tariff, net meterings, renewable energy target, regulatory support, that are the most important framework to support for development of renewable energy in Africa. So that is another option, but I like to talk about this in maybe further. What about the approach? How to enhance or how to accelerate the transition in Africa through RIPRI activity? So first of all, we have to identify different stakeholders. Government, developers, investors, and so on. So we had this opportunity and we identified different stakeholders, and we expect to launch. So secondly, we have to have a survey roundtables to elaborate this dialogue with different stakeholders. So we developed a survey or questionnaires. If you want to know what are the looks the questionnaire, just scan it. Elaborating adapted expertise and service through LIPRI activity. So in terms of capacity building, in terms of research and development, and you have to, yes. And in terms of communication, we have to have this communication with these different stakeholders, public awareness, and collaboration with media. Yes, this is a practical work. So we had a chance to participate to the 9th African Forum for Investment and Commerce. So I had a chance to present a talk about energy transition and about LIPRI. So I had a chance to have to discuss, to connect with the different ambassadors in Algeria, also with the national and international press. Okay. Then we had also a chance to have a contact with investors and NGOs. Yes. Okay. So, and at the end, we had a chance to discuss with African Union and Arab League representative. And finally, we cannot expect a better future without cooperation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chakib. And yeah, as this was the last part of the presentation, you saw we had this overview about, we know for the long term where we would like to go. And as you saw, we were talking about renewables, of course, hydrogen, as you already saw in the Pillar 1 projects, hydrogen is already part of, let's say, the topics of LIPRI. And then Chakib show us one of the many examples of how LIPRI is trying to disseminate and communicate and having this kind of going to conferences, events, and about that in October, 10 to 13 of October, we will have the stakeholder forum of LIPRI in Kigali, Rwanda. So you are invited, of course. Most of you who is inside LIPRI is more than invited to participate, of course, in presence. And you will receive for sure soon the newsletter about that, right? I look, okay. And now we move to Q&A session. So let's, if you have questions, comments, let's discuss. It's time, stop listening, and then let's discuss a bit about the project. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Joel Songok, University of Vasa. Two questions. First question to Professor Seladji. Can Africa industrialize with renewable energy only?
Maybe I have to give you our own example in Algeria. We try to develop the renewable energy, especially renewable photovoltaic energy through different programs. First, it was a program with the 22 gigawatts, then revised it to 10 and so on. So that means we are not ready to have this the capability to have this transition to invest in photovoltaic, for example, because we don't have the
expertise. First, how to design the call, how to design the different, for example, IPP approach, independent power producer. So we had some regulation issues, technical issues. That's why we delay the project 10 years, maybe more than 10 years. So now we have to revise our approach, considering what I said. So I think we need more time to develop our own capacity in terms of industrialization, in terms of technical aspects, and so on. So let's go step by step. Thank you.
So I think it depends on what you're manufacturing, right? If you're doing steel manufacturing, there's still very little options besides certain really, really high enthalpy, let me say high thermal heat sources, right? If you're doing manufacturing of, let me say matchsticks, you can use renewable energy sources. So it depends on what you're using, what we mean when we say manufacturing, because I think we use it as a, as a word that means everything, when there's just different things that you can manufacture as a country that would determine the type of energy source that you want to use to do through the manufacturing process. So yeah, I'd want to ask what manufacturing means for you. Industrialize. Oh, okay. So industrialization, again, for me, that still would be very relative, right? Think about it this way. It's 2023. You can do a lot. There's jobs that didn't exist when I was growing up that have come up due to digitalization, right? The digitization of everything. The national grid in Kenya right now is being run by 22 guys at the National Control Center because a lot of things have been automated. So again, it would be a constant if the world, I'd say at this point, was not as digitized as it is, but there's a lot that's changing. So it depends on what also you mean by, because we can't industrialize the way other countries industrialize. They didn't have the kind of systems that we have. They didn't have the kind, like 2023 is very different. And maybe we want to redefine what industrialization means for us. Just like Asia did with financialization. I think Asia is a very good example of industrializing your own way because they used the finance sector to industrialize, right? For, let me say, Singapore. I'm using Singapore as an example. So yeah, that's what I'd say. What's industrialization for us also?
So we consider the PV market right now with the cheaper system from Apple, right? So in order to encourage investors to use PV system in our countries, we have to do regulation to encourage investment in PV production, and this could be done. And we are trying in Nigeria to have this regulation in order to encourage even foreign investors to come in Nigeria or to come in Africa to invest in such. Thank you. You have a second question? Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's been that. She and I in Kenya have adopted
So just as you've having C&I have adopted PV in Kenya for their own consumption. So it is possible, 100% not yet, but PV has allowed a lot of commercial industrial industries in Kenya to already move towards that direction of using renewable. We have companies like Bidco Africa that have their own cogeneration plants. They have a PV system of about 1.4 mega, if I'm not wrong. They're reaching about 70%. So they're only relying on the grid about 30. And this is the largest FMCG in Kenya. So yes, it's being done. We're heading towards 100%, depends now on the renewables. Yeah.
It's a question that can open a lot of points, and you are right when you say. I mean, I participated to a couple of Italian, African, Europe, Africa conferences, and this issue was raised by even by the local ministers. So I think that we have to be very pragmatic sometimes, and we have also to think that there is not only electricity. As far as we can electrify some end-use consumption, as you mentioned, manufacturing of a certain kind, anything that can be electrified can be then made renewable, because PV are there. But when we go to other industries, other transportation, or some aspect of the transportation sector, this is where we have to remember that we don't have only electricity. So we have to keep calm, let's say, and also to think how we can decarbonize this sector. Many African countries are gas producer, and this is also accepted by the International Energy Agency when they talk about fuel shift. And then in the future, we can think, you were talking about hydrogen. This is a way to decarbonize fuel. So we have to be, it's like, maybe it's because I'm a female, so we have to cook the dinner with everything that is in the fridge. And what is there is there. So we have to pick up everything, okay, to make a good dinner for our children and family. So I think we have not only to focus our attention on the electrification. Otherwise, we talk about solar PV, wind, and that's it. We also have to consider what cannot be easily decarbonized via electrification, which are the high density energy demand of the steel industry, or are the long haul transportation, which are an issue because we look the problem of Africa from the perspective of those who are coming from energy, but we are in a country where also we have problem of road transportation, low rate of mobility for passengers and goods. So this is another issue if we want to increment the trends. So we have to take all of these things into consideration.
Yes, Isabel.
Thanks. Just a comment related to geothermal energy, for example, and following what just Manuela said. For example, for heating and cooling related to geothermal, I think you have all in-house what you need. Maybe you need some expertise, much more. And in terms of that in terms of industry, you could have it in relation to the geothermal energy power production. I'm not sure, for example, in Kenya, I'm talking now to you. In Kenya, you have a big geothermal power production with Kanjan, but I'm not sure you produce all the part of the geothermal power plant. So it depends again on what we are talking about. So related to geothermal, for geothermal power production, no, you need also to increase the industrialization. For direct uses or industrial uses, that's a different story.
There was a question on the internet. Ah, I see. All right. So, yes, and yes, perhaps there. Sorry, maybe the gentleman over here.
Thank you. Thank you for your sharing. My name is Kamuti from the University of Zambia. My question is more on the the solar cooking technology. Yeah, first maybe in terms of technology, does it use, is it photovoltaic, electric, or is it direct heating? And the mode of use, is it at a household level or maybe community level? And that brings me to the question, the aspect of, yeah, the affordability. How affordable is it at this stage?
So 3 minutes. Okay. First question, yes. So it is a cooker. We looked at productive use, so we settled on cooking. It is a cooker that will be powered by PV. We are looking at optimizing. We've worked with we're working with MEX, Modern Energy Cooking Services, a program that has been that is under LAFPO University in the UK. So we're looking at optimizing a DC cooker. And so the optimization is through incorporating positive temperature coefficient element that is mainly focused on regulating self-regulation of the cooker. Yes, it will be powered by this PV. We're also looking at the battery side of it. What question? Household? Yes. And specifically, the cooker is an electric pressure cooker, but now DC. A DC electric pressure cooker, and since the project has been implemented in Kenya, Rwanda, and Mozambique. So in Kenya, we did focus. In Kenya and Rwanda, we focused on the households, and in Mozambique, we looked at it at businesses, and that is how we settled on the EPC because of its versatility in terms of application. In terms of affordability, so in the process of developing the prototype, as mentioned also in the update of the presentation, we are also our partners in Rwanda actually working on developing the questionnaire that will kind of assess the market in terms of policy, business, and capacity. So by the end of the project, we'll be able to assess its affordability. And I'll let her speak on the PV.
On the PV side, yes, it's solar photovoltaic systems, like silicon solar cells. So what we decided to do was, given that part of the target market will be women who work in very dusty environments. So this will be women who work in rural, let me say, markets. And markets in a lot of rural African communities, even in Kenya, there'll be no tarmac or there'll be a lot of dust. So we decided to try and see how we can optimize the PV so that it doesn't, a lot of dust does not settle on it. So the tech development that's happening on that end is to try and see if we can introduce dust phobic technology, something we can put on the PV, given that even these women will not have access to a lot of water, right? So if we say we're going to give them something that will be cleaned, first of all, you do not want someone to interact with the solar panel frequently, given that it's sometimes very brittle. Yeah, so that's something we're working on the PV end of the solar cooker. Yeah.
So can I have the second one? Considering the African continent, the connectivity of electricity is different. If you consider the northern parts of Africa, you're talking about over 95% connection. Go to sub-Saharan Africa, you're talking of, remove South Africa. The rest you would have under 30%. Okay, just to be fair. How do we balance from the perspective now of AU, EU, in terms of funding and the projects, because they are going towards, there's the connectivity, energy access, and there's the element of energy transition, for example, in the northern parts where you'd have hydrogen. You saw the projects on recycling of cathodes, or how do we balance this? Of course, on the backdrop of presentation of Fabio on the what's the people want, in what VP14, and the community say we want electricity. We want water. This is what we want.
So I'm an electricity access researcher, so I spend a lot of time thinking and talking about electricity access. So I'll use a very good example, last mile connectivity project in Kenya, which connected around quite a number of homes, at 100,000 to 1 million, I don't know what number it is. And the aim of the government was connection. So what we did was exactly that, we connected. But then we didn't account for generation, right? So there's certain sections of Kenya which you have a connection, but you do not have reliability. So like South Africa, which is at load shedding level 6, they have a connection. But what good is a connection when you want to cook, you don't have electricity, when you want to, you can't freeze your food, right? So in terms of connections, I don't know how we can increase connections without sacrificing reliability at a fast rate. One of the issues that we've realized happened with last mile connectivity project is, number one, our national grid provider is very limited in their capacity. They have 2,000 engineers. They were supposed to do the expansion of the grid, 20,000 homes a day. Our 2,000 engineers, one person is checking 15, 20 sites per day, and each of the 15 sites is like a kilometer, 10 kilometers apart. So what I'm saying is we need to be very careful in using connections as a metric for electrification, because connections does not tell the whole story. Post-connection, there's always issues if you do connections at a breakneck speed. How do we do electrification? Solar has to be part of the solution if you live in the Sunbelt region. But even without the Sunbelt region, for the national grid, it has to be organized and thought out in terms of the engineering and technician capacity that you have to do the grid expansion. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So I think we're done with the time, and we would like to warmly thank everyone in the room and also in the online platform for joining us today for the discussions. And like Riccardo mentioned, there is, if LIPRI is something that resonated with you on a professional or personal or however level, please visit our website, join our online community where you can find news about events and recent publications from the projects, and generally on the long-term AUU platform for climate change and renewable energies. Thank you so much.